What was your role in the CSL Photography Through Literacy project?
So basically, I was helping out the teacher of the class. So I was kind of like a teaching assistant, and what I would do is kind of go in and assist them with they had like reading assignments and writing assignments and various things they had to cover, or we would do activities based just kind of all around the English language, obviously, where they would try to just kind of immerse themselves in the English language, reading newspaper articles, magazine articles, doing things like basic crossword puzzles, that kind of thing. And I would sit there with them, and they would read to me, and I would help them with words that they would struggle with, kind of put them in the right direction, or help them with spelling on different kinds of activities and that kind of thing.
What was it like working with adult immigrants in an ESOL classroom at TRA Inc.?
It was definitely an experience. It was something I'd never done before. I've always taken the English language for granted, having spoken it since birth. But it's kind of it's something you take for granted. The little nuances and things in the language that we just kind of roll with, and having to kind of step back and try to avoid using kind of expressional things. Things like, "Hey, what's up?" Something that we understand as "What are you doing?" But if you were to say that to someone like that, they might look at you and say, "Oh, clouds or the ceiling," because they take it so literally. And it was definitely an interesting experience. It was fun. And I mean, it was you get to meet some new people, and just kind of talk to them. You realize that they're just people too, and they just want to learn how to speak English. And it's kind of awesome.
Were you nervous at all?
Not really too nervous. I consider myself kind of a people person. I can pretty much make friends with the wall, the TV. I talk to people. It's what I do. So I mean, I wasn't too nervous. The only thing I really was hesitant about was that I would say something stupid, or open my mouth and say something inappropriate, we'll say. But I managed to restrain myself, so it was good.
How did your participation in this Photography Through Literacy project impact your views of immigrants and refugees living in the U.S.?
Again, it goes back to the things we take for granted. A lot of the pictures, were of things we see. Just walking around Worcester, you see them every day. There were people like, "Oh, it was my car," my family, my house. Things you walk by and you see every day, and you're like, "Yeah, that's my house." You don't really appreciate it, but then you see, these people are they're coming over here, and they realize, one of the students, I forget, I think she was Hispanic. She came in and said, this is just a house that I walked by on my way to the bus or wherever she was going. This is the kind of house I want to live in. It was a really nice house, and you kind of take for granted the things that I have, and it was eye opening. You realize that, you got to appreciate things a little bit more.
Did you find it challenging in any ways, and if so, in what ways?
It wasn't so much challenging, I'll say. I mean, like I said, it was a good time, and the really challenging part was, like I said, trying to take yourself back from, oh, that's easy, or and just kind of you almost had to take yourself down, to bring yourself down to their level. And I don't want to not be judgmental, but for lack of a better word, you just kind of have to say, they're struggling to learn a very different, very difficult language, very different from the language they speak. You have to kind of you have to avoid frustration with it, because you see things and it's like, it's window, why can't you say it right? But then you realize, like, what, there was a time where I couldn't say it right. They're just learning. They may not know, that the OW makes a different sound at the end of this word than it does at different times. And again, it goes back to the little nuances in the English language that are, everyone's favorite.
Would you recommend it to future college students? Why or why not?
I absolutely would, and just for the reasons I've listed there. You get to meet people of a different culture. they're learning about my culture, but at the same time, I'm learning about their culture. And just like I said, from the little interactions, little conversations, and the look on their faces, when they get through a passage, and like, oh, that was great, you did really well, you didn't mess up, or the look of appreciation on their face when you say, yeah, you were close here, but it's pronounced like this, or and then you can see they're like, they take notes down, and they're like, oh, you can tell they're really trying for it, and it's a good experience all around. Definitely recommend it.
Do you see any connections to this CSL project and other courses or other work-related experience generally that you've had since the project ended?
I guess a little bit, because like I actually just told you, I'm talking to a recruiter for the Army, and the job I'm interested in the Army is Special Forces, which goes into foreign cultures and is basically a teacher. So you have to learn their language, and you have to learn how to teach them in their language, and it kind of relates because it's almost like a role reversal. There are going to be people in foreign cultures that are going to be teaching me these things, and in the not too distant future. So I guess that kind of relates. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it works. I think it's close. It's a lot of fun, and I would definitely, like I said, definitely recommend it if you have the opportunity to, even if it's not part of a class, if you have an opportunity to meet someone in a different culture and learn a little bit about it, take the opportunity, because you never know what you might learn.